Page 110 is number 3 at the top of the page. Is the third reading exercise or lesson or whatever you want to call it. Looks like in this one the melody's in the right hand and the left hand gets blocked chords. I would encourage you to just sight read this. See if you could just play it through without even practicing it. Just read it through, at least one hand at a time, but it's better if you could do it both. However, I'm going to go through the whole process of how I learn a piece of music. I look it over, it's 2 lines long. The clef signs are treble and bass clef. The key signature is 3 flats. That's either E flat major or C minor. If we look at the last couple measures here, it's an E flat chord. I figure it's an E flat major. But if you're doing the scales in arpeggios, do both. E flat major and C minor. Yeah. And 3/4 time signature. I'm going to take it one hand at a time first to make sure the fingering works okay. I want to try and connect everything with the fingers if I can. Third finger here. That's what they're suggesting. I mean, there are different fingering styles, but we can start with this suggestion. It's 1 and 2. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to be up in here with the thumb, then we need to adjust the fingering. And we can do that simply by letting the thumb play the F. And so I'm just going to switch 1 and 2 fingers. Instead of 2, 1, it's going to be this way. The second finger comes over. So it's 2. That's all I did. Just to keep my hand out here. I don't know how big your hands are. If it works for you to come up here, that's fine. Do that. Then reach up. At the end, they have 2, 1. Again, once I'm here, I just stay here. 3, 2. Because I'm here already. Why go up here? Yeah. So I would do the last 3 measures. 3, 2. And knit it there. Left hand's the chord. So we have the E flat chord or the 1 chord. If you don't want that, you can do that. Okay. And then the next one is well, they got the chord names. 5, 7. So if you do this and on the first one, your thumb's ready for that one because the whole chord, if I take the first 2 measures together, that's it. It's just we're leaving out the D flat there. See, in the second line, again, it depends on how big your hands are. You can finger those 1, 3, 5 and measure 5. 5, 7, 1, but you can also do it here and stay out here. Let the second finger play the B flat. Here, whichever. Then I put the hands together and see what we get. Well, here. The last 2 measures, look out, because the right hand is tied, the left hand is not. So you're going to play the chords again. We look for little things like that. They make a difference. So once I have the hands in rhythm and fingering and all that worked out, and I can play it with no hesitations, then I'll think about the articulation. This is very connected. You're going to lift up for the phrasing in the right hand. Measure 4, you're here. Lift up. Like taking a breath. And otherwise you're connecting it. In the left hand, try and connect them. You can't, but try and connect them. Then once I have the articulation under control, sort of, then the dynamics. MF, mezzo forte, it's the only one given. Moderately loud, that's the melody. These chords need to be soft in the background. Because if you play in the same, this 3 notes drown out this. They drown it out partially because there's 3 notes against 1, and partially because as you get lower, it gets louder anyway. So just soft here. And that's a kicker. You want to go soft, but they need to go down at the same time. Listen very carefully and get these chords down at the same time. Yeah. And then once I have the dynamics under control, I think about the speed. Andante, kind of a casual walking speed. 1, 2. We're just kind of walking along. There are words to this, but not in this book, but there are words somewhere. And I can't even think of the name of it right offhand. I'm sure somebody will comment the name, they usually do. Then on top of all that, they've added pedal. Now, you don't need pedal, we just played it fine without. However, it would be nice to connect these chords. And we need pedal for that, but we have to be careful with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is use the pedaling suggested to see how that works. If I don't like it, I'm going to change it. It's going to be like pedals, notes first and then the pedal. When I change it, it can be right after I play the notes. That's okay to you, then I would suggest you're not listening very carefully, because that sounds terrible. It really does. We don't want this. That or this. Or this. We don't want all that. It's just yuck. So we're going to clean up the pedaling a little bit. We'd like to be able to connect the repeated notes. And I would like to be able to connect the chords. Other than that, I really don't need the pedals. So if you're going to pedal, why are you pedaling? And to say, well, I'm pedaling because that's how it says in the music, doesn't get it. No. Understand, why does it say that in the music? Because that's just one person's opinion. And I disagree with that opinion. Anyway, I get it out here. One is, I want to connect the chords in the left hand. So I'm going to pedal just long enough to connect them, and that's it, in this part. Down before I change, because I can connect them, and I got to play the same chord again. I want to connect it. I got to do the same thing. There. So if I do that, what do we get? Cleaned up the melody very nicely. We have a few repeated notes in the melody. In the first measure we have these G's. I like to connect them. So I'm going to pedal that first measure. But then I'm going to lift it up right after I play the notes in the next measure and leave it up until the end. So I'm trying to connect the repeated notes because I didn't want silence between them. The only time I want silence between the notes is for the phrasing there in measure 4. Yeah, measure 3. I'd like to connect those, so I'm going to have to pedal those. So when I get to measure 3, I'm going to have to put the pedal down right after. And I can leave the pedal down here because I want to connect the left hand. Now lift it with the phrase, so we get a little silence in the left hand, and then put it down to connect the left hand. So. At the end, put the pedal down long enough to connect the chords. That's my suggesting on the pedal. We're just using pedal long enough to connect what we need to connect and no more than that. Now, there's a note here to transpose this to D major. Okay, we're going to go from E flat major down a half step to D major. D major has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp, so we're going to those. It's all white keys except for those. There's only one accidental in the second measure, we'll deal with that. So in the melody, I'm going to go down a half step. So instead of this position, I'm in this position. And then once I'm here, I can either transpose the notes in the music. I'm taking the note down. Instead of a G, it's an F. Well, it's got to be an F sharp because we're in D major. And instead of an E, it's a D. Instead of an A, it's a G. Lift up. All I did is transpose the notes in the music down one note. Or use the same fingers you did. Although here we transferred these. Here you don't have to. Another way of doing it is to, once you get the first note, use the intervals. I'm going to go down a third, up a second, up a second, up a second, and then up a third, down a second, down a fifth, up a fourth, down a second, down a fourth, up a third, down a second. So you can do it that way too. For the chords, just take them down. Instead of an E flat, D. And instead of this, take everything down a half step. C natural then. So we lowered because we should be playing a C sharp and D major. It's a C natural. So that would be the accidental. So it's here. You can see in the first two measures in the left hand, the bottom two notes of the chord are the same. The only thing's changing is the top. I'm going from here to here. And then we're going to here. So this bottom note's staying the same. On 5/7, so that's the left hand chord, and then you figure that. You can use the same approach for the others, except when you go farther away from where it's at, it's harder to use the notes in the music. I can't see that G and think, you know, a fifth apart. That's too far for me. I have to find some other way of transposing it. Like figure out the first note, and then I can use the intervals between the notes to take me where I need to go. Yeah. Let's play this together very slowly. Check the notes and the rhythms. I'll give us 3 counts. I'm going to pedal it like I suggested. 1, ready, go.